You just made a reference. I know Freaks and Geeks was based somewhat on your own high school experience, very personal to you. Has anything else you've worked on been as personal as that?
Well, I mean, honestly, everything I do, I have to find the personal way into it. I mean, that's why if you look, almost everything I do is really about an outsider or somebody who's undervalued or who doesn't kind of know what their life is, what direction their life is going yet, and the experience they go through kind of helps them find their confidence and find their place in the world. And so any project I pick or write, I have to be able to kind of put myself into the lead character's mind. You know, it kind of started with Freaks and Geeks, even though Sam Weir was me growing up. I really put all that. Lindsay Weir was who I kind of was at the time I was writing it, when I was in my mid-30s. And when I figured, okay, like a really smart 16-year-old girl is probably about the same maturity level as a 35-year-old man. So I was able to kind of work out all these issues through her and put all the angst I had been going through and questions about life into her. And it was just really, I loved that so much. It was really cathartic, and that was the moment when I realized, I really enjoy telling stories about women and female characters, and grew up. I was an only child. I was close to my mom. Grew up next to a family of 8 kids. 6 of them were girls. They were all my kind of best friends. And then when I was in school, it was either my nerdy friends or all the girls that I was friends with. So all the other guys were mean and beat me up and stuff. And so I just always felt more comfortable around women in that way. And I always loved the humor of the women I was with, because we would just laugh and joke all the time. And there was just something less aggressive about female comedy as opposed to male comedy, and at least, speaking very generally. Right. Because with guys, there's always homophobic slurs and punching you and all this stuff, and it's like, oh God, so I always escape over to the girls' table. Can I hang out with you guys? And it just kind of carried forward. I just always loved, those are the stories I love to tell.
I edited, when I was brand new to this Hollywood arena as a journalist, I edited an article you wrote for the Hollywood Reporter called Why Men Aren't Funny, which was it was just ahead of the heat. This was 2013. It was a satirical response to the infamous Christopher Hitchens essay about why women aren't funny. And you personally recruited a murderer's row of female comedians, there they are, for this photo shoot. Or comic actresses, I should say, Linda Cardellini, Caitlin Olsen, Busy Phillips, pregnant out to here, and they all just showed up. They weren't in the movie, maybe some of them were developmental projects with you, but nothing immediately offering. They just wanted to show up for Paul Feig because of the kind of ally you had become and were becoming. So that, you gave your moment with Linda and Freaks and Geeks. That was my moment of really seeing, we were doing this story and it was fun and it was well written, and then all these women come in the door just to be there for you, which was an incredible moment. So when did I know you realized, obviously with Freaks and Geeks, that you wanted to amplify women's stories and point of view, but when did you begin to understand that you were being seen this way in Hollywood as really a leader in doing that amplification and advocacy?
Well, after Freaks and Geeks, I just started developing and pitching a lot of things for women, for female characters, and just kept kind of hitting the wall. What executive, you can't be a female lead because this and that. And you're like, I'm sorry. I guess I don't know showbiz well enough. There must be some rule that you can't do women. So I thought, okay, but you start going like, well, wait a minute, why is that? That doesn't make any sense to me. And again, they'll tell you all these business reasons why. I'm like, so we're really just going to accept that? And you go, I guess sorry, ladies, you can't have anything that you're in. I go, no, if we tell the right stories, and the roles are good, and the movie's good, or the project's good, why would it not do well? It makes no sense to me. And so, in the midst of all that, and kind of hitting the wall with that, Judd called me up because he was developing at the time, it wasn't even called Bridesmaids, with Kristen. And Kristen had written the script with Annie Mumolo, the first draft, and he said, come to the table read. I know you like, you're always trying to tell female stories, and I think this would be something you'd like. And this was like 3 years before we made the movie. And they did a table read of it. It was a very different script, but still had all the key things in it. But there was these 7 women up there. Melissa was one of them. I didn't even know Melissa at the time. She wasn't even reading that role. And I'm just sitting there going like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is this vehicle for all these women. This could be so great. And I was in the middle of another project, and he kind of wanted me to shepherd it for a year, and I didn't have the time at the time because I was on another project. And so I just, please keep me in mind for this. And then as 3 years went on, it kind of fell apart. And I call him up, and what's up with that? He's like, I think it's dead. It's that. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, 3 years later, when I was in the middle of a terrible job, I was just at kind of my lowest point. Because I was directing TV, which I liked, but I wanted to do movies. And I got hired to do the series of internet commercials for Macy's. And they were fun, but I had just directed in one of them Donald Trump. Yes. And it was such a bad experience. And I remember just going back to my room going like, what am I doing with my life? I'm at a bookstore or something. And I got this call from my agent saying, that wedding movie, it looks like it's alive. I said, well, the judge didn't call me, so he must have gone on to somebody else, but just put my name on a list and send it in. He calls up, and then like 2 minutes later, they call me. When I didn't do this, I just had to go meet Kristen, who I knew because I actually put her in my first movie, Unaccompanied Minors, which nobody ever saw. But that was her first movie role, and we became friends after that. So I met with her, and she's like, oh yeah, sure. And then, so I'm really off track here. So when that movie was being made, a lot of my female writer friends were inspired by the fact that we were getting to this ensemble female comedy, and so they were out pitching similar ideas around, and they would all be told by the executives, well, we gotta wait and see how Bridesmaids is first. And it's like, first of all, thanks for no pressure whatsoever. Like, if I screw this up, women will never get another movie, apparently. But also, you go like, God, would that ever be said? When they're making The Hangover, where they like, oh boy, okay, fellas, sorry, we got to see if this does well, or men can't ever be in a movie again. And so I really resented the town for that. And also, in the lead up to it, it looked like we were going to bomb. And actually, we were getting all these calls like we're going to underperform. So that's a nightmare. But fortunately, the night of, it did really well. It just played the whole summer. And so that was the moment when I go like, oh, good, that worked. The town now sees you make money off of these things, which that's all they really respond to. They're not altruistic because it's a business. And so I saw the door crack open. And then I just kept barreling through it. But, it's a very slow uptick right now. There's way more female-led projects going on, but it's still not good. I just read today online that they said, in animated movies, only 17% of the lead characters in animated movies are female. You go like, really? That's just disgusting. So, and now for me, I was so focused on front of the camera, but now I'm really focused on behind the camera too, and trying to get more female filmmakers out there. That's what we have more opportunity, which we can talk about. But it's the time is now. What I think is great is that I think the industry is fine. We've had moments where it seemed like the needle was moving and then it fell back because it almost felt like they were like, okay, we did it, and well, let's get out of here. But I feel like now there's so much focus on it. They've been so shamed by a lot of people now, and plus the results are just going through the roof for movies about women and people of color and all that there's no more proof. They can't rest on that thing anymore. But they still are cautious. Every one of those that comes out, that's the litmus test. Let's see, it has to be talked about in those terms. That means we're still stuck in that vortex.
Yeah, there's a lot of research also about how tracking, especially for film, tracking is off all the time because they just have old-fashioned methods, and so every movie that's focused on women overperforms or comes out and overperforms, and it's just because the measurement has not caught up to the audience in a real way, and so
we have to get to a point where a movie starring women can bomb, and people go like, all right, that's cool, and then they go on to the next thing. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, see, well, I told you.
Have you ever you had something brought to you and said, I guess I'm great at directing women, I'm great at doing women's stories, but maybe a woman should do this one? Have you started to be able to funnel projects to creators that you learn?
I've had that a few times. I got offered this thing for Walmart. They did this thing with 3 filmmakers a few years ago where they wanted filmmakers to do this thing. And they had the other 2 slots were by men, and I was kind of like, well, you should actually hire a woman to do this, I kind of didn't want to work for Walmart, but I also, but I was just like, yeah, this isn't right. But then what they did, they hired a guy,
Oh,
for it. But then in the subsequent years, they got better at it. So that's something they were doing. But no, I'm always. I mean, that's in our company now. I mean, with someone great. That was just a great time when Jen Robinson, who did this show called Sweet Vicious on MTV, which is brilliant. If you've ever seen it, she wanted to do this script that she wrote, and she brought it to our company. I read it. I was like, this is one of the best scripts I've ever read. But she really wanted to direct it, but she'd never directed a movie, and I was like, yeah, you should direct this. This is your voice. You will know how to do this. And so we were able to take it to Netflix. She prepared, this lookbook, this whole presentation, and I just had to sit there and go, here she is. She's awesome. And then I said, like, look, I guarantee she's going to kill this. And and they let us do it. And she killed it. She absolutely crushed it. It's so good. If you get